Boys, today I'm going to be telling you how to play the Caro-Kann Defense. After the move e4, you got to play c6, d4, d5, and then most likely you will get the move e5. In this position, you should play the move c5. You will most likely get the move c3. Now you can play knight to c6, and you will most likely get knight to f3. Now you can play bishop to g4. After the move bishop to e2, you can play the move e6, castles, and then you can play queen to b6. And once you get to this position, or really any position where you get the e6, d5, c5 structure, it's to just treat it like a French defense and not this stupid Caro-Kann opening. Back in this position, they can also just take. Here you want to go e6, trying to take this. Then white will most likely go bishop to e3, defending the pawn. Here you can play knight to d7, attacking both of these pawns. And after bishop b5, you can play knight to e7. This does look like a tight position, but if white plays a move like c3, you can play knight to c6, getting into the action, and after takes, you're pretty much equal here. A little bit better, actually. You are actually forking these two pawns because the bishop is also attacking this, and this is free. So if they play the best move, knight to f3, you can take this. Here in this position, they can also play knight to f3, where black can play a6. Most people take here, you take back, and then now play c3, allowing black to really get into the game with a move like knight to f5. Now back in this position, if they instead take here, you want to take back, knight f3, knight to f6, you cross pin will most likely happen, castles, and then e6. And now in this position, I'm going to end it here because you can actually just treat this as a better version of the French defense since you have this bishop out. You can play queen to b6 sometime in the future, and this is a good position for black. And actually, this goes for most moves white can play here. The other most common move back in this position being knight to c3, you still play bishop to g4, and after something like this in e6, black is in a really good position, even better than before. Since before, white was castled and the bishop was out. Same goes for the other most common move for white here, which is bishop to d3, where here you can still play bishop to g4. White will play c3, and then you will play queen to c7, and you're slightly better here. After the most common move castles, you can play e6, pretty much the same as in the previous position. You might get a slightly different variation of the position if they play c3, because you can do the same move. They'll play bishop to e2, and then you can play e6 again. The only other common move instead of knight f3 in this position is actually c4. Now you can play knight to f6, knight to c3. Now, a good move for black here is actually e6, and after knight to f3, you can fianchetto the bishop. The most common move for white here is to take this. Of course, you should take back, and now you're in a slightly better position as black. And taking the knight's actually a really bad idea for white because you can get your queen out early, and there's really nothing black can do to stop it right away. As you can castle here and really quickly get out these three pieces. So instead here, we have bishop to c4, knight takes c3, b takes c3, and then queen c7, forcing this bishop to be defended. And finally, I'm going to be covering the knight to f3 variation. Actually, it's not the knight f3 variation, it's the knight c3 variation. Now this position will probably go takes, knight to f6, takes, and then takes, and that will end up here. Now white will probably play knight to f3, play bishop d6, they will most likely play bishop d3, and now you can castle. If white here plays the move h4, then what you should do is play bishop to g4. Here, white will castle, and after that you should play the same move, bishop to g4. You can also play the move rook to e8 in this position, and then if they play h3, or actually if they play c3, you can play knight to d7, and you're big chillin' right now. And here, if you decide to play bishop to g4, if they play h3, slide the bishop back, and then if they play c3, play knight to d7. And boys, that is going to be it for today's epic video. Make sure to like and subscribe. I wonder if that thingy popped up.
Boy.